In furtherance of the argument that our law has not facilitated male sexual misconduct towards women, I pointed out that in the 1800s there was a crime known as the crime of seduction. And what this crime did was it punished men who engaged in consensual sexual relations with women under certain circumstances, usually after the false promise of marriage, or in one statute from Canada, male employers could not have relations with female employees under a certain age. Now, some feminists will argue that this crime was more about maintaining patriarchal male property interests in women. This is just not correct. It is correct that this crime was loosely based on some civil actions that were known as the Heartbalm actions. This was criminal conversation, seduction. These civil actions usually involve situations where a man would seduce a woman into adultery, or where a man would have relations with a previously chaste, unwed woman. And the whole idea there was that the compensation would go to the husband or the father. This was kind of seen as a property crime. I have explained in previous videos, though, that any property interests that men had in women were very closely related to their duty to provide for women. So, for instance, if you had a father who had a daughter and she was involved either consensually or non-consensually with a man, then it would make it a lot harder for that father to marry her off, especially if she got pregnant. And then that woman would be the lifelong financial responsibility of her father, because the father's not going to let his daughter starve. So the whole idea was that, yes, there was some property interest here. The law wanted to compensate men who were put in this position. Now, by the time we come to the 1800s, this focus shifts entirely, and it becomes all about the virtue and well-being of women. One of the organizations that pushed to criminalize seduction was the New York Female Moral Reform Society, and their agenda was certainly not to maintain male property interests in women. It was to protect women from exploitation. Now, the Heartbalm actions in the 1800s, these changed also. In the past, it was an aggrieved father or husband who had to bring these actions. In the late 1800s, they make it so that women could bring these actions on their own behalf. What happened then was that women started to use this to extort men or to force them into marriage. And there are some hilarious old court records where men were going to court and basically had the option of getting married or going to jail for seduction. Interestingly, Frank Sinatra was charged with this crime. Ultimately, was not prosecuted for it, but there's this famous mugshot of Sinatra, and a lot of people don't realize he was arrested for committing the crime of seduction. He got involved with a young woman, broke off the relationship, and then she complained, and he was charged under this crime. For the most part, these statutes are no longer on the books, or where they are, they're not really applicable. But the fact that they once existed shows again that our law does not facilitate male sexual misconduct towards women.